right, mate. All right, mate. How are you doing? Yeah, I'm all right. You're all right. Yeah, I'm all right. It may sound ridiculous, but this is a genuine conversation that you'll hear in the street in the UK. A word that we use over and over again is all right or you're right. And if all of this sounds like nonsense, gibberish to you, then this is the podcast for you, because I'm going to be asking myself and then answering 50 different questions, each using a different British English slang word. So, are you all right? Let's get started. Question number 1. It is, do you usually say mate when talking to friends? Well, yeah, I definitely use mate quite a lot, and I'd use it a lot more than saying friend or another synonym, which is pal. But as I said in the introduction to this podcast, usually when I see my mates, the first question I will ask them is, you all right, mate? How's it going, mate? What's new, mate? So yeah, mate is a very, very common word used in the UK and in British English slang. Number 2. Describe a bloke you know who has a big personality. And bloke is a way of saying man. So if I say he is a good bloke, I'm saying he's a good man. He's a good guy. And a bloke I know who has a big personality. Who could I choose? There are lots of people that I could pick, but I'd say that one of my friends from school who is now an actor, and he acts in different plays, in theatre, and he's a bloke who has a very big personality. He's the typical person who is an actor. He's very theatrical. He's very flamboyant, and he's quite loud, but he's a nice guy. I get on well with him, and we have a good laugh whenever we're together. But he's a bloke with a big personality. Now, question number 3 is, do you think the word bird for a woman sounds funny, rude, or normal? And let me explain. Because a bird, of course, is the animal that flies, you know? But some people in the UK use bird as a way of saying woman. Usually younger woman. So for example, when I lived back home in the UK and I was at uni or school, I'd say, oh yeah, I saw you were chatting to that bird. Like, how did the chat with the bird go? So it's usually if you don't know the woman's name or it's a stranger. Groups of people, usually men, might refer to a woman as a bird. And it's not like an insult. It's not derogatory, but it's a bit weird, and I think it's going out of fashion at the same time, but you still might hear it. So do I think it's funny? Not really. Do I think it's rude? Not really either. I'd say it's just a colloquial term to call a woman who you don't know. It's like, yeah, she was a nice bird. Well, yeah, she was a good bird, which is a way of saying a good woman or a good girl. But yeah, I don't know how often it's used anymore, so I'll have to look into it. But bird can be used to describe a woman. And number 4, what kind of things do lads typically enjoy doing in groups? Let me repeat that because I'm stumbling over my words. So what kind of things do lads typically enjoy doing in groups? Well, I'm going to generalize massively. And lads, by the way, is another way of saying boys or men. And I'm going to take you back to not my stag do, but my friend's stag do last year when we went to Liverpool. And we were a big group of lads. And what we did on my friend's stag do, bachelor party, was meet in the pub, have some pints. Then we wandered around the city centre, and we were on a bit of a bar crawl because we were going from pub to pub, and we went whiskey tasting as well, and we also went go-karting, there was a football match on as well. So we went to watch the football. So I would class myself in many ways as a typical lad. I like the typical laddie things. And again, I am generalizing massively, but I love football. That's a typical thing that lads enjoy doing together. Going to the pub is another typical thing that lads enjoy doing together. And then other stuff like doing sports, go-karting, paintball, all of these things are typical things that lads like to do together. All right, now moving on to number 5. Who is a legend in your life and why? And the word legend is used to describe someone that you admire, someone who you look up to. And I'm going to say that a legend in my life is my mum. You all know my mum by now. You'll have listened to the chats I have with my mum every couple of weeks. You'll have seen her appear on my shorts as well when we're quickly explaining different words and phrases. And I think my mum is a legend. And I'm going to tell you why. Because my friends used to come round to my house when I was at school, and they'd come round to play video games, to play poker, just to chill. And whenever my friends came round, my mum would bake cookies or any kind of cake or dessert. And she didn't have to do this. And the vast majority of mums or dads wouldn't do this. They'd just be, happy to welcome people to their house and make themselves at home. But my mum went above and beyond. She went the extra mile. And she'd always make cookies. So nowadays, when any of my old friends are reminiscing about my mum, they'll be like, "Oh, Julie's cookies. I remember them. I can almost taste them right now. The chocolate chip cookies, they were, to die for. They were delicious." So for that reason, and many other reasons, I'd say my mum is a legend in my life. And she's a legend to as well. But now from there, let's move on to the next slide with 5 more conversation questions. So question number 6 is, have you ever felt like a mug after buying something? And if you feel like a mug, you feel a bit like a fool, a bit like an idiot, like you've been ripped off or you've been made a fool of. And have I ever felt like a mug? Well, more or less. During COVID, during the lockdown, 2020, I wanted something to do, essentially, and I was playing a lot of Football Manager, this video game that's really addictive if you like footy, and I was playing hours and hours on end, and I've always been into football. And then I discovered that there was a similar platform where you could invest in footballers, and if those footballers did well and they grew and developed and won trophies, their value would go up. So it was essentially like all footballers were in the stock market, and you could buy them and sell them and make a profit or make a loss trading these footballers. And the reason why I felt like a mug is because a few months after I started investing, and I invested like hundreds as well, thinking, I know football. I'm going to double my money, of course. But it wasn't to be, because the company went bust, meaning the company went bankrupt, which meant that I lost all of my money. So I didn't necessarily buy anything, but I invested in something which wasn't reliable. It was a bit dodgy, and I felt like a mug. If I had invested those, £500 in the stock market, I'd have made so much more money. But I decided to invest it in footballers. What an idiot. What a mug I am. Number 7. Do you know any nutcases? Or are you the nutcase in your friend group? And a nutcase is a nutty person, which is a way of saying a crazy person or an eccentric person. And I'd say I know a few different nutcases in my friendship group. There's Jack, there's Jimmy, there's Jimmy. Two of my friends are called Jimmy, which is a nickname for James. But yeah, if I think about what we did when we were younger, or even what we did just a couple of years ago on nights out, I could definitely say, like, Jimmy, you idiot. You're such a nutcase. What's wrong with you? Why are you jumping into the river? It's freezing cold outside. So, a lot of my friends are nutcases, but I wouldn't class myself as one. Because I think, without wanting to blow my own trumpet, without wanting to brag or boast, that I'm quite a responsible guy. I'm quite a sensible guy. Quite reasonable. Usually, at least. I hope to think that that is the case. Now, question number 8. When was the last time you felt gutted? The last time you felt gutted. And I've mentioned this in conversations with Steve. If you're gutted, it's like your guts have been taken out of you. So it's like you feel empty because you're so disappointed or so sad. And I don't know. I haven't been that sad too recently. But one time when I was gutted was, what could I say? Well, of course, there are times when I was gutted when I lost a loved one. So when my grandma passed away last year, I was gutted. And of course, I was heartbroken. And that is to be expected, of course, when you lose somebody very, very close to you. There are other times when I'm gutted watching sports and the result that I wanted doesn't happen. Or if maybe I'm negotiating with a possible client and then in the end, the deal falls through, I could end up being gutted because I think, that would have been so good. That would have been a fantastic opportunity. And it just fell through, meaning it collapsed. And that makes me feel gutted. Moving on to the next question, number 9. What achievement would make you feel really chuffed? And if you're chuffed, you're very proud or happy. So if you listened to a comprehensible input video that I posted about a month ago now of me speaking about my goals and my aims for 2026, you'd know that I would be chuffed if my new application became a huge success. By the way, there's a link in the description if you want to try English with Lewis, the brand new app. Check it out. But I'd be chuffed if that became a success. I'd be chuffed if I could reach 100,000 subscribers on YouTube this year to get that silver plaque. So a lot of work-related things would make me chuffed. But on a normal day, I think I'm quite a happy person anyway. So I'm often quite chuffed. Now, question number 10. What kinds of situations make you fuming? And if you're fuming, it's a way of saying that you're very angry. You're fuming. You're raging. Ugh, you're so angry. Well, things that make me fuming, sometimes watching the news, seeing what's happening, that makes me fuming. Talking about more personal things, if I see bullying, this is a good example. I luckily wasn't really bullied at school, but if you watch any series, any films where there are scenes of bullying, it's horrible. I can't stand it. I hate seeing this. And there's a new series on Netflix, which is an adaptation of Harlan Coben's novel, and it's called Runaway, and it's British as well. Two of the main characters are from different regional areas of the United Kingdom. One of them is Northern Irish and the other is Welsh. So it's good practice for your British accent training. So check out Runaway on Netflix. But there was a little scene in this series where there was bullying, and there was a teenager at university playing a guitar, and then bullies tricked him and smashed the guitar up right in front of his face. And seeing this scene made me think, oh, you absolute, oh, I can't stand bullies. I can't tolerate them. I can't put up with them. It makes my blood boil. So seeing bullying makes me fuming, makes me so angry. Now let's keep going. And we have question number 11. What makes you feel absolutely knackered? And I've got a relevant example. Last week, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning because I was going to Vitoria, to the Basque Country in Spain. So I slept 3 hours, tops, 3 hours at most. And after that, of course, we had to get the taxi, the coach, to go to the airport, then get on the plane, and then have turbulence on the plane. So after 5 hours of the journey, I arrived, and I remember thinking, oh, I'm shattered. I'm knackered because my back was aching, my eyes were bloodshot, and I had a very heavy head, a little bit of a headache, and I was exhausted. I was absolutely knackered because I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and had only got 3 hours sleep. So to anyone listening who may have sleeping issues or insomnia, I feel sorry for you. And I hope you can get over this, because when I don't sleep, I'm useless. Last night I slept 6.5 hours and I'm struggling because usually I need my 7 or at least 6.5. No, I need 7 to 7.5 hours sleep. If not, I'm not a human being. Now, question number 12. What are you buzzing about at the moment? What am I buzzing about? What am I buzzing about at the moment? Well, this evening, my fiance's friend has come over and she's staying with us for the weekend. So we're going to watch a couple of films and eat junk food on the sofa bed because we had a couple of drinks last night and it's cold. So we're just going to chill out at home, watch a film or 2 films, and we've got chocolate, we've got ice cream, we've got popcorn. So I'm pretty buzzing about that because I haven't got any more classes for the rest of the day. So I feel quite relaxed as a result. And knowing that our plan is just to chill and watch films and pig out, well, I'm pretty happy about it. You could argue that I'm buzzing about it. Next one, question number 13. What do you do when you're skint? And skint is a way of saying poor. You haven't got any money. You're broke. So what I do when I'm skint is absolutely nothing. Luckily, I'm good at saving money, as I've mentioned before on the podcast. But if I were completely skint, well, I'd go to the supermarket and I'd buy pasta, rice, noodles, all of these really, really cheap stuff, so I could feed myself, of course. And then the only thing I'd be able to do would be go for a walk, that's free, and sit at home, either doing work to try and get out of this situation of being skint, or just, killing time and sitting back and watching series. So if you are skint, at least, hopefully, you've got internet and you've got a laptop or a TV, so you can watch some of that. And worst comes to worst, go for a walk and listen to a podcast. Make it my podcast. Who knows? And if you are listening to this podcast on YouTube, please don't forget to leave a like, and I'll love you a lot. Or you can also hype the video so it reaches more people. And if you're listening, on the other hand, on Spotify, if you can leave a 5-star review, then I would love you lots as well. So thank you in advance. Now, the next question. Number 14, I believe. Have you ever bought something from a dodgy website? And dodgy is like suspicious or unreliable or not good. So have I ever bought something from a dodgy website? Not really. I don't think so. I think I've bought t-shirts before, maybe from a dodgy website, but they never scammed me. They never ripped me off. So luckily, touch wood, fingers crossed, I haven't been scammed or conned or swindled. So no, I've been quite vigilant about knowing which websites to use. Because if you use a dodgy website, you might be in trouble and your details might be at risk. So take care, everybody. And now the last one, 15. What food do you think looks Peng? And Peng is more modern slang, and it's like saying delicious or really good or really nice. So I think food that looks Peng is the one that's Mexican that went viral a couple of years ago. It's like beef birria tacos. So tacos that are made with like a beef stew with lots of chili and lots of herbs and lots of spices. And of course, you put this stew into a taco or burrito, and then you dip it into all of this extra broth and sauce. And this is so Instagrammable, and it looks so Peng. It looks so good. It looks so tasty. But for me, a lot of food looks Peng, to be honest. I'm not so picky as you might know. Moving on, question number 16. What's a film that you thought was complete rubbish? Okay, I've got it. Twilight. Twilight, the saga, the trilogy. Maybe there's 4 films, I'm not sure. But it's absolutely garbage. It's absolutely rubbish. It's terrible. I don't know why people like it. It's so cheesy, so corny. It's rubbish, honestly. Let me know if you agree with me, if you think that Twilight is rubbish as well. But I'm sure many people disagree because it was very successful and very popular. But I think Twilight is rubbish. Next question, number 17. What's something mint you bought recently? And if something's mint, it's, again, cool. It's really good. It's like, oh yeah, that was mint. It was great. It was really good. You know, I don't buy that much, but something that I bought recently, which was mint, was, what could it be? What have I bought? Honestly, I buy very, very little. I hardly buy anything, to tell you the truth. But something that I bought which was mint was, this t-shirt. So if you're just listening, I advise you check it out. I'm a big fan of The Office and the US Office. My favorite character is Dwight. So I'm wearing a t-shirt of Dwight from the US Office. And I think this t-shirt is mint. I think it's great. I think it's really cool. It's proper mint. Now, next question, 18. Have you ever received shabby treatment from a company? And shabby is like saying, not very good, unprofessional. It was a bit shabby, a bit messy, perhaps, as well. And probably when I was applying for jobs, when I was very inexperienced at school, I probably received shabby treatment where people maybe wouldn't take me seriously because I didn't have much experience. So maybe they would just ignore my application, or I'd have an interview and they wouldn't get back to me. In other words, they wouldn't respond to me. And I think that's pretty shabby. I think if you do an interview, the interviewer, the person who interviews you, should always have the decency to respond to you and tell you the outcome. Because if not, I think it's disrespectful. And I think it's very shabby treatment. So that's what I would say. And of course, I have had interviews in the past where I wasn't chosen and I didn't hear anything back until I reached out to them, which I think is pretty shabby if you ask me. Next question, number 19. Do you say loo, toilet, or something else? So in British English, loo is a lovely alternative to saying toilet. It's maybe a little bit ruder, but loads of people say it. And another one which is more advanced and more colloquial and a little bit, let's say ruder again, is bog. So you can go to the toilet, you can go to the loo, or you can go to the bog. Personally, I don't really say bog. I think it sounds a little bit, weird or disgusting. It's not that nice. But I do say loo a lot. So, oh yeah, I'm just off to the loo. I'm going to the toilet. So yeah, I say loo a lot. And my name is Lewis. So some people have called me Lou or Lulu. Spelt like L-E-W, but it sounds the same as L-O-O. Lou, toilet. So some people will call me Toilet. Lou. And now, number 20. What would you usually order from a chippy? And a chippy is a fish and chip shop. If I went to a chippy, which I would love to do right now, I would order fish, which is usually haddock. So I'd get haddock, chips with scraps, which is a little bits of fried batter on top. And I'd drown it in malt vinegar and lots of sea salt. And sometimes I'd also get some mushy peas, maybe some curry sauce or gravy. And if not, I could also get maybe some tartar sauce. But what you have to order is fish and chips. Simple. You could also get sausages and pies from some chippies, but usually I'd stick to the basics. All right, let's keep going. Number 21. Do you ever forget your brolly and regret it? And a brolly is an umbrella. And yes, sometimes I do forget my brolly. I'd say often I don't take brollies places because I've usually got a waterproof jacket and a hood. So then if it starts to rain or pour it down or piss it down or chuck it down or bucket it down or lash it down, throw it down, I put my hood up and I start walking quicker and I'll maybe get under a bit of shelter because I think, well, I haven't got a brolly. And if you do have a brolly, there are times when rain comes at you like sideways. It's like horizontal rain. And if it's windy, a brolly is a nightmare. And if the rain is coming at you from the side, a brolly is a nightmare. So I don't usually take a brolly with me unless it's absolutely pissing it down and I'm wearing formal clothes to go out. And in that scenario, I'd regret it. But usually, I don't. Next question. I'm losing track of the number now. I should have put a number on them. But I think this is 22, I want to say. So what did you study or what would you study at uni? So uni is university. And as I've mentioned, I studied Spanish. Well, it was technically Hispanic studies and Italian at uni, which was Spanish language, a bit of Spanish culture and history. And I also started Italian as well. And this degree developed or turned into modern European languages because I then added a little bit of Portuguese. But yeah, that's what I studied at uni. And let me know in the comments, what about you? What did you study at uni if you went to uni? 23. what fashion trends do you think look a bit naff? A naff is a way of saying bad or rubbish. So a fashion trend that I think looks naff is when people wear jeans that have like tears in them. They have holes in the jeans. They have rips in the jeans. And I just don't get it. I just can't get my head around it. Because, again, if it's raining, your legs are going to get wet because you've got holes in your pants. And a lot of the time, people will throw away jeans because they're ripped. But then certain people will buy jeans because they think it's fashionable just because it has some tears. So I think this is absolutely naff. It's ridiculous. But maybe I don't know about fashion. Now, number 24. What's the most money in quid, in pounds, you've spent on one item? I think the most money I've ever spent was on my MacBook, which I'm still using at the moment. And I bought it in Spain, so I bought it in euros. And I think it was 1,700 or something like that. Which is like 1,500 quid, 1,500 pounds. Because I've never bought a house and I've never bought a car. So the most expensive thing I've purchased was my MacBook. Okay, next question, which I believe is 25. Did you ever skive off school as a kid? And to skive off is to lie about being sick or have other responsibilities to be able to skip school. And I don't think I ever skived off school per se, but I did skive off certain classes where I would think to myself that I've got music class, or I've got history, or I've got maths, and I don't like them. So then I think, okay, maybe I can make up that I'm a bit sick. I can lie to people and say, sorry, I feel really sick. I can't go to class. So I skived off. I skipped class. We can also use another phrasal verb, which is bunk off. So bunk off and skive off are synonyms, which we'll see in a second. But now I've lost track of the questions. But I believe this is 26, or maybe I just don't say the questions anymore. Next question is, has anyone ever nicked something from you? And to nick is to steal. And, yes, maybe, perhaps not. I don't remember very well if anybody's ever stolen anything from me or nicked anything from me. But from my fiancée, her phone has been nicked a couple of times. And she's been very, very unlucky with this, where her phone was nicked or she lost it and she couldn't find it. And then when she started ringing it, it was already turned off. So what can you do? There's very little that you can do. If you don't have insurance, then you've just got to bite the bullet and get another phone. Because nowadays, we absolutely depend on our phones, so we can't be without phones for any length of time. But myself, I don't know. Yes. When I was living in Liverpool and I went out on Halloween night with my friends all dressed up, we got back home and we saw that our house had been broken into and they had nicked all of our laptops. So yeah, now that reminds me that something has been nicked from me. Sad times indeed. Next question. What helps you crack on when you don't feel motivated? And crack on is like to get started or continue working. So when I don't feel motivated, I try not to force myself to do stuff, but I do have my own personal deadlines. For example, with podcasts or videos, I know that I need to upload a certain number of podcasts or videos. So that's why when I'm motivated, I will overcreate to get ahead. So that then, if I'm unmotivated, I don't need to force myself. I don't need to push myself to do it. But what helps me is just to think about the long term. Think about the goals. Remind myself of why I'm doing this work. And that will help me to crack on and keep going. Next question. Why do students sometimes bunk off class? Bunk off, skive off, as I said, is to skip class. And I think they do it because when you're young, you want to spend time with your friends. You want to be rebellious. You don't want to follow the system and do everything by the book. So that's why most people will bunk off, to rebel, essentially. Next question. Do your friends take the mick out of each other a lot? Yeah. My friends definitely take the mick or take the mickey out of each other. They make fun of each other. They joke about each other. So yeah, it's common, I think, in many friendships groups where we don't always speak about how we feel and all of these different things, but we'll be constantly trading funny insults like banter. And it's a bit immature, perhaps, but a lot of my friends will be insulting each other whilst having a laugh, making fun of each other, taking the mick out of each other, but in a good way, in a friendly way. So they definitely take the mick quite a lot. And the next question, which is either number 30 or 35. I think it's number 30. When was the last time you wanted to tell someone to sod off? And sod off is like, get lost. Go away. So the last time this happened was when we were boarding for our flight with Ryanair and we were carrying backpacks. And, you know, sometimes Ryanair, it can be very picky. And they want your backpack to be really small, and often we push the limit to make the backpack as large and spacious as possible. And the guy at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning was making us put our backpack inside that like measuring area which says, if your backpack fits in these 2 lines, you can take it with you. If not, we will charge you an extra 60 quid. And I didn't expect him to ask us to actually check and prove that it was small enough to take. But he did. And of course, the backpack was fine. It fit perfectly. But imagine if it hadn't fit. We'd have had to fork out an extra 60 quid. So when I was proving to him that it was fine, I got a little bit angry. I was a bit fuming, and I wanted to say sod off. But in a very sarcastic way, I just said, have a fantastic day. Because I was angry, but I didn't want to show it too much. All right, next set of questions. And let me just check how many we've got left. Okay. We have 20 questions left, which means this is question number 30. Number 30. Yeah, that's it. So what area of your life do you need to sort out? And sort out is to resolve or to fix. And an area of my life that at the moment I feel like I need to sort out is hobbies and free time. I feel like I need to dedicate more time to doing hobbies, chilling out, being with friends, because I don't do it often enough, I don't think. So this is something that's lacking in my work-life balance, where I don't really prioritize my hobbies too much. So I think I should sort that out. Next question, 31. If someone says, "You all right?" how would you respond? And of course, this was the introduction of this podcast. And I'd probably respond by saying, "Yeah, I'm all right. You all right?" So I would almost recognize it and say, yes, I'm okay. And then I would ask them, how are you? But instead of saying, yes, I'm okay, how are you? I say, yeah, I'm all right. You're all right. Which is funny, I think. So, you're all right is also a way of saying hello, but literally it is, are you all right? Like, are you okay? How are you? So yeah, you all right? Yeah, I'm all right. You all right? Next one, 32. When do you usually say fair enough? Now, I say fair enough in my speaking classes quite a lot. Not too much, but if somebody disagrees with me or they say something, then instead of disagreeing with them again, I'll say, okay, yeah, fair enough. Because fair enough is so common, and it's like saying, okay, I get it. I understand you. Fair enough. And by the way, speaking about my speaking classes, if you would like to join my group classes, the British English Immersion Club, I will leave a link in the description, and there you'll also be able to access private classes with me. So if you've got any questions about that, you can always email me at lewis@englishwithlewis.com. Next one. So, 33, I think. Describe a situation that was a bit of a nightmare. A situation that was a bit of a nightmare. Well, Again, going back to my flight and my trip, on Sunday, when I was due to fly back to Brussels, it was really windy. There was some kind of like windstorm in Spain. And when we were getting on the plane, you could feel that because of the strength and the power of the wind, the plane was almost like swaying from side to side, which already made me feel a little bit queasy, a little bit sick or nauseous. But knowing that was happening, and when the captain, the pilot, said, okay, you will notice how strong the wind is, so be aware that takeoff is going to be a little bit bumpy. And when he said that, I was like, oh no, this is going to be horrible. This is going to be an absolute nightmare. So, it was a pretty bumpy flight. It was very turbulent. And I remember looking around at other passengers and thinking like, oh my God, please, please, please let us survive. Fortunately, it was only bumpy for the first 20 to 30 minutes. And after that, it was smooth sailing all the way until we landed. But the beginning and the tension leading up to that was a bit of a nightmare. In fact, an absolute nightmare. Next question. What chores can't you be bothered to do? And remember, I can't be bothered to is like saying I feel lazy about doing it. I don't want to do it. As my fiance will probably tell you, there are lots of chores that I can't be bothered to do. I can't be bothered to hoover, to vacuum. I can't be bothered to mop, to pass the mop around the floor. I always make sure I do my washing up. No problem at all. I can't be bothered to iron either because I work from home. Why am I going to iron? Unless it's a wedding, I'm not ironing at all. So there are many chores, lots of housework that I can't be bothered to do, to be honest. After that, next ones. This is 35 or 36. I think it's question number 36. When do you decide that'll do instead of being perfect? And if you say that'll do, you're saying like, all right, that's enough. I will settle for that. And I'm not a perfectionist. It is what it is. But me not being a perfectionist means that I am more prolific. I'm more productive. I'm more consistent because I'm not constantly trying to achieve perfection. So a lot of the time when I record a podcast, you'll notice at the beginning, I kind of stumbled over my words a little bit. It happens, but I was already speaking for 5-10 minutes. So I think, I don't mind. That'll do. And I keep recording and keep doing things. So I always try to do my best in everything I do, but I know perfection is so hard to achieve. So often, my response is, that'll do. That's enough. It'll do. Question number 37. What kind of music is not your cup of tea? I'd say heavy metal is not my cup of tea. It's just loud noise, if you ask me. And the other genre that is not my cup of tea is probably classical music. Classical music isn't really my cup of tea. I don't like it. It's not my thing. A music that is my cup of tea, indie, rock, rap, some pop. I'm a bit basic when it comes to music. Number 38. When you say, I'm easy, what do you mean? I say I'm easy quite a lot. And it's an alternative of saying, I don't mind. You choose. It's up to you. Whatever you prefer. So if somebody asks me, what do you want for dinner? Where do you want to go out? I'd say, I'm easy. You choose. It's up to you. I'm easy. Next one, 39. In what situations do you say, cheers? Well, of course, I'd say cheers if somebody has given a toast, a presentation, and they'll go, ding, 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 ding. After this toast, we'll all raise our glasses and we'll say, cheers. Cheers to the newlyweds. Cheers to the birthday boy. But also, cheers in British English is an alternative to thanks, thank you, or tar. So if somebody does me a favour, I'll of course say, cheers. Cheers, mate. If they say something nice to me, they give me a compliment, I'll also say, cheers. Cheers, mate. Notice that I use mate a lot with cheers as well. And now question number 40. What kind of things make you say typical? So if somebody or something has a reputation for being bad or doing certain things, and then they prove that reputation, that's when I often say typical. That's just typical, isn't it? So my football team, Leeds United, when they lose a match after being ahead and winning the match, I will say typical. It's what I expected. Typical, Absolutely typical. Now, question number 41, and all of these 5 questions are fun or interesting alternatives to calling someone stupid, silly, an idiot. So we have prat, wally, plonker, twat, and git. But there's a slight difference. Prat, wally, and plonker are kind of fun or friendly ways of saying somebody is a little bit silly. So these aren't very strong, aggressive, or insulting. However, twat, it's a pretty strong word. If you call someone a twat, it's a genuine insult. So refrain from doing that. And a git is a bit old-fashioned, but it's another way of saying you terrible person, you git. Or you moody person, you git. So let me quickly answer some of these conversation questions. I'll speed through them. Have you ever done something silly and felt like a prat? Many times. I've definitely felt silly and felt like a prat on multiple occasions. Most of them back at high school and school. But yeah, I've felt like a prat quite a lot. And what's a harmless situation where someone might be a wally? I'd say if you make a funny comment or you say something without realizing, you might be a bit of a wally. Again, if I'm traveling with my fiance, she's not very good at directions and maps. So she might say, where are we? This looks new. And then I'll have to tell her, we were here 5 minutes ago. We just done a little circle. You wally. So it's a nice friendly way of saying you idiot, you prat, you plonker. And to sort out that doubt, plonker, I think, is a bit of a funny insult. I'm useless at DIY. So whenever I try to do something, I call myself a plonker. Like I'm trying to change a light bulb or hammer a nail and I mess it up, I get it wrong, I screw it up, and I would call myself a plonker. But then twat is a strong word. Probably you don't want to say it. And have you ever called someone a git, even jokingly? And git is often used with old. You old git. I'm an old git. Which is like saying, I'm an old bastard. So, my granddad used to sometimes use this word. And he'd say, oh, he's a git. He's an old git. It's like saying that old idiot. But personally, I don't really say it that much. So, there we have those 4 words. Prat, wally, and plonker. They're like silly, and they're kind of friendly insults. But twat or git, they're a little bit more serious and not as nice. And now we have the final 5 questions. So question number 46. Do you prefer hanging out with one mate or a big group, a big gang? Personally, I think the more the merrier. The more people you can hang out with, the better. So, yeah, I would much rather hang out with a whole group of friends rather than just one mate, because the more connections, the more mates you have, the better, right? 47. What's something that sounds dodgy, but is actually safe? Again, we saw this one earlier. Dodgy is like unreliable, suspicious, weird. But something that when I see it every time is theme parks, roller coasters. I think roller coasters look a bit dodgy, like they look a bit unreliable or unsafe. But people always reassure me and tell me that it's completely safe. But I hate roller coasters. My stomach absolutely despises getting on roller coasters. So if I can avoid doing it in the future, I will. For me, it's dodgy. Dodgy as hell. Next, 48. What life event would make you absolutely buzzing for weeks? If I won the lottery, I would be absolutely buzzing for weeks. I'd be a millionaire. I'd be rich. I'd be on top of the world, on cloud 9, over the moon. 49. What do people usually do when they're completely skint at the end of the month? Again, this is a recap of an adjective from earlier. Skint is broke. And as I said, if they're skint at the end of the month, they have to stay in and save money or avoid spending money at all costs. And some people will actually borrow money to pay the bills because they are skint. Now, the last question, question number 50. What's something small that can turn your day from rubbish to mint? If I'm having a bad day, I'm a bit moody, I'm a bit grumpy, but then I see that I get a new student and somebody buys classes with me, it puts a big smile on my face, of course. So getting an email confirming that I have a new student in my group classes or for private classes turns my day from rubbish or normal to mint. And I'm like, come on, yes, I can't wait to meet this new student. So that's a little reminder that if you would like to join my classes, you can find a link in the description and join my group classes, where it is a monthly subscription for €60. You get access to one group class per week, and every week is a different topic. This week we've been speaking about British English slang, and next week we'll be speaking about technology and applications. And you can also join a bonus lesson every week. So you have up to 2 lessons that you can join every week for a total of €60. And, well, if you haven't got time for classes, you can always download my brand new application, English with Lewis. Again, a link in the description. And I believe that's it. So I hope you enjoyed listening to me nattering and having a chat with myself, answering all of these conversation questions using British English slang. And if so, leave a like, follow for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much, and bye!